Hello Dota fans and welcome to Breakdown. I'm your host Bonsai and today we'll be taking a look at Evil Geniuses. EG enters MDL having had PPD and Fear right off into the sunset, losing arguably their two most important players over the last 3 years. PPD has taken on a management role within EG's parent company Twitch, while Fear has stepped back into a coaching position to protect his arm health. To replace them, the prodigal son of EG, Arteezy, returns once again, joined by Crit, who proved himself a superstar in his own right during his time with OG. They join existing members Sumail, Universe, and Zai to try and carry on the legacy of success EG established over the last 3 years. They certainly have the talent, but that doesn't always guarantee success. I brought in one of the premier production side prep stats women, Daeja, to take a closer look. How are you doing, Daeja?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
All right, so what do you think about this new EG roster? It seems pretty good on paper, but what do you think?
I think that the changes are kind of deceptive because, like you say, it looks pretty good on paper. It looks pretty familiar, right? 4 of these players have played together on EG Team Secret over the last couple of years, but they've never actually all played as 4. There's always been PPD and Fear to sort of anchor the team. So seeing how those 4 are going to work together, I think is going to be really interesting.
And so what do you think going into this event that fans of the team can be hopeful about? Or, what do you personally like about the team going into this event?
I really like that all 5 of these players are players anyone would be happy to have on their team. Like, all of these players are superstars. Crit's performance, especially at Manila with OG, really established them in the top tier. Universe, his ability to initiate, to punish team positioning in team fights is a really solid tool for this team. Sumail's ability to push his heroes to the limit, make these high-risk plays that don't seem like they should work, but somehow magically do. I think that all 5 of them really have great mechanics and great abilities to bring together. Team fight especially. I think this is where the team should do really well.
All right. So what do you think is there to be worried about for this team? Like, where do you think they're going to have problems? I know that they've lost sort of some veteran leadership, and PPD and Fear both stepping back, and I think they're sort of a calming presence. We can't be in the booth exactly, but Fear's attitude is probably a pretty big factor of their success over the last few years, as they have said themselves. Is that going to be one of their main issues, or are there going to be other ones along with that?
I think it's certainly something that's concerning. When we think about the team, Fear's contributions, as you said, as a steadying influence, as a mentor for Arteezy, for Sumail, for other players, and also his ability to support his captain, to support PPD, his in-game decision-making and out-of-game decision-making. I think losing that is a big blow for this team. Now, Fear, of course, is going to be sticking around as a coach, so he's still going to be able to help outside of the game. But in-game, I mean, Zai is known for being pretty chill. Crit seems to be a pretty calm influence, perhaps. But how well they're going to be able to step into Fear's position in those terms, I think, is a big question mark. And then, additionally, something that's been talked about a lot is the fact that you've got 4 greedy players coming together. Arteezy, Sumail, Universe, and Zai all like to get ahead. They like to play from positions, lots of gold, lots of experience. And how well Crit as captain is going to be able to manage that economy on the map, I think, is going to be really have a really high impact on their success.
So do you see it as a large issue if they don't win their lanes? Do you think that's going to be a point of contention for them, where they're going to, like, if they lose their lanes, it might not go well for them?
I think so. I think that Sumail in particular, I think that he's kind of the hinge for them, because we've seen in the past where when Sumail first joined Evil Geniuses, he sort of was able to make these mid matchups that seemed like he should lose every time. He was able to turn them around and somehow come out ahead. But I think in the last year or so, that ability has kind of cooled, and when he gets behind, he really needs space to make up the difference. And as I suggested, like, he likes to go for these high-risk plays. So if he's playing from behind, the odds of those high-risk plays succeeding is just so much lower. So I think that his ability to win mid and to get support that he needs from Zai and Crit that's going to be really, really important.
So would you say that that's the sort of the X factor that they need to focus on, that if Sumail gets a good lane, a good head start, and he's, getting to make his insane plays where, he just does something stupid and you're like, that's not gonna, oh Oh, that worked. What?
Yeah.
Or is there something else that they're going to have to, that's sort of the mystery of if they'll do well, if this goes well, they'll do well, or if not, they're, going to be stuck behind.
I mean, I think from a game-to-game perspective, that's going to be a big part of it. Again, like if he doesn't do well, then he's going to need more space on the map, and that means less space for everyone else. That's going to impact Arteezy's ability to snowball and these big, farming heroes that he likes to play. It's going to limit where Universe and Zai can pick up the space that they need. And I think, sort of more meta sense, how well Crit can fill this captain position is also going to be really significant. If he's going to be a strong enough voice to direct this team with, I think, some very distinct and loud personalities, I think that's also going to be an issue.
All right. So is there anything else that you'd kind of like to touch on that we might have missed so far?
I think that the only other thing that I think will be interesting to see coming into MDL that really I want to touch on is the fact that when you've talked about Evil Geniuses, their identity is so wrapped up in this idea of PPD as captain, and specifically his ability to draft. He has been lauded as one of, if not arguably the strongest drafters in the game, and I certainly think his draft replays are worth listening to just to get a sense of like the psychology and the logic that's gone into all of his drafts, the way that he plays mind games with even the simplest of things like early bans. Now, I'm not saying that Crit isn't going to be a superstar drafter. Maybe he is. But assuming that he is going to be sort of more average, seeing what Evil Geniuses can do without that consistent advantage at the very start of the game, I think is going to be really interesting. It's going to be exciting to see how they can come together.
All right. Well, is there any place that people can find you if they wanted to get, more of your insight onto games, maybe follow you on social media or contact you if they needed some prep stats?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at writing Daeja, Daeja, and get a hold of me through there.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks once again to Daeja for joining me on this episode of Breakdown. A quick run back of what we just talked about here. EG is a talent-filled roster able to punish opponents and make big plays, with especially strong ability to win team fights. They did lose some of their in-game leadership and will need someone to step into that role. Along with that, 4 of their 5 players are typically very greedy, so someone will need to adjust and create space. Can Crit manage these players and the in-game economy? For the X factor in this event, EG will need to win their lanes, particularly mid. Along with that, it remains to be seen how well Crit can fill PPD's Salt Throne as a drafter. Can this star-studded roster put it all together? I pulled the analysts who joined me and a couple who couldn't to see what they thought. Remember that these predictions are made with very limited data, so they should be taken with a grain of that salt all Dota players carry with them. Shown here, we have 4 analysts placing EG in second, with Andy and Kyle putting them at the bottom and Skim placing them 5th/6th. The large number of seconds does place their median at second, but there's a decent amount of disagreement here. Will Andy, Kyle, and Skim have bragging rights, or will the rest of the analysts show their foresight? Tune into MDL to find out. I'm Bonsai, and thanks for watching Breakdown. Let me know if you agree or disagree with our analysts with a comment here or on Twitter. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and subscribe. If you have any feedback for the show, you can comment here, tweet, or email me. Huge thanks to my partner Jonas, who created our graphics and helped produce this show. You can find his social media here as well. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.